Athina, very much for coming today. So it's been mentioned a few times, the geopolitical context. So I'm going to start with the kind of the difficult question. Given the not even so terribly veiled challenges to the whole digital services framework, how are things going? How is the Commission reacting?
So, first of all, very nice to be here, and thank you very much for the invitation. So we are continuing the work that we have been doing the last 2 years since the DSA entered into force. We have quite a few updates on several aspects. If we start, for example, with the enforcement cases that we have 10 open cases which focus on different aspects, and these are mainly priority areas under the previous commission, but also under the current commission, as confirmed also by our executive vice president in her hearing before the parliament. And these are areas related to election integrity and transparency requirements. We have cases open on illegal content online, and how easy it is for users to use, for instance, the notice and action mechanism that platforms are obliged to provide. Then we have open cases related to illegal goods on online marketplaces, which is also a sector which is booming currently. Of course, we also have cases on protection of minors online, which is very much related to what the previous panel was discussing. And we are continuing our investigations on all these 10 cases. There are some certain cases which are more advanced than others, because we also opened them maybe earlier. But all in all, we continue from our side, and things are progressing well. Then on a second, let's say, pillar that we are working on is all the secondary legislation and the guidelines that we are working. So here, of course, we have the guidelines on Article 28 that Martin mentioned before, so I'm not going to go into the details. But we also we are in the final stages of the Delegated Act on data access. We had the public consultation, which closed in the end of last year, and now we have received very good feedback from researchers, from platforms, from the digital services coordinators, and we are now in the stage of finalizing this act. And of course, then we will adopt, and then it will come into force in 3 months after the adoption. And we are also working on guidelines for trusted flaggers. We have already around 20 trusted flaggers now appointed in 10 member states. But we hope that with these guidelines, there will be more incentives to apply for the status of trusted flaggers, and then the rules will also be applied in a consistent manner across the EU. Then maybe a last point to mention is the work that we are doing with the Board of Digital Services Coordinators. There we have 8 working groups established within this board, which focus very much on all topics under the DSA, such as protection of minors, consumer protection, elections, disinformation campaigns, and so on. And the collaboration so far with the board and the digital service coordinators has been quite excellent, and it has also a lot of potential to ensure consistent application of the rules across the EU, because of course the Commission is responsible for the very large online platforms, but the digital services coordinators are following more the smaller platforms which are established in their member states, and it is very important that the same interpretation and the same obligations apply according to the DSA, of course. So this is a little bit the update from our side. We are following, of course, very closely what is happening across the world. So in the US, we are following the subpoenas and the memorandum, and we are engaging at all levels with our counterparts in the US, also with the help and collaboration of our delegation in Washington. Yeah, we are always happy to clarify what the DSA does and what it does not. So, yeah.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of meeting one of your colleagues there last month, and we heard from Maria earlier great things about the collaboration among theirs. It's good to hear that your experience is similar. I feel like one of the really big achievements of the DSA is to do with the level of transparency that we have that we didn't have before. And a lot of things are now already in place. Is there anything left to be done in the kind of achieving the transparency that's envisioned in the DSA?
So there are many obligations under the DSA which are indeed aiming to provide additional transparency. For instance, we have Article 40, which is about the data access for researchers. There is one specific obligation which relates to public data, and this is already in place and in force, and we have taken action against the very large online platforms which are not properly implementing it. And if you pay attention to our enforcement cases, Article 4012, which is about access to public data by researchers, figures in almost all our investigations, because we also consider that this is a key pillar of the DSA, because it offers this additional opportunity to researchers to actually study what is happening, and therefore to have a more informed also discussion at our level. Then we have now still pending the data access for the Delegated Act on Data Access, which is for more intrusive data and data which are not publicly available. And once this goes into effect, we also expect that there will be much more research done on the systemic risks under the DSA, and this will unlock quite a lot of potential of further transparency and discussions. Then another also obligation which is quite important for us, it's the ads repository, which is also figuring in quite a few of our open investigations at the moment, because of course it gives additional information about the ads, who pays, for how long they stay online, who are the targets of the ads. So this is also something that we are looking very closely into, and in general through also our other actions such as requests for information. We are scrutinizing and looking at the transparency reports that very large online platforms have to publish every 6 months. And we have sent requests for information, for instance, to the adult content platforms, because we had concerns that their reports were not compliant with the DSA. So transparency is a topic that is really very important for us. A lot has been done, but a lot more needs to be done also in the future.
Okay, you mentioned the requests for information, and we can see there's a whole lot of them that have been done, and that's quite an interesting regulatory tool, sort of in the toolbox. So what has been the experience? How have the services responded to those, and what kind of information do you end up getting, I guess?
So until now, we have sent, I think, more than 100 requests for information to very large online platforms and search engines. And the topic or the subject matter of this request for information is varies a lot. We have sent requests related to the risk management framework. So what are the systems that they have in place? What are the results of their A/B testing when they when they choose certain mitigation measures for the platforms? And in particular for risks related to minors, for risks related to election integrity and civic discourse, for the dissemination of illegal content also on the platform. We have sent requests for information about the data access systems that they have in place for their for the ads repositories and many other obligations under the DSA. The type of questions we ask depend very much on the subject matter. There are times where we have done a sweep or we have examined compliance with all platforms, and then this resulted in horizontal requests for information where we sent more or less similar requests to all platforms or to relevant platforms. But there are also other requests which are more targeted on the basis of evidence that we might have gathered ourselves or we might have received from third parties. We communicate quite transparently about requests for information, but once we open an investigation, we keep the confidentiality of the proceedings, and there we do not communicate. Generally speaking, we have received a lot of valuable information from the companies. Some requests also are go into really the details of how their systems work, like the ones that we sent last year on the recommender systems of 3 very large online platforms. And generally speaking, companies do collaborate and they do reply to our requests. Of course, if they don't, or for certain reasons, then there is always an escalation path. We can also go on with requests for information by decision, where it's more like they have an obligation to reply, otherwise there might be fines. But so far the experience has been quite positive from this tool.
Do you think this is something that's likely to we see maybe an improvement in the risk assessment reporting based on what they've been asked, right? So we didn't have enough information about this in the reports. Tell us more. Maybe next time we'll get more detailed risk assessment.
I think this is a fair assumption, because through many of our requests for information, we point at things which, for us, are missing from the risk assessment reports. I think that because exactly the request for information, for the Commission to send these requests, we need to have suspicions of non-compliance. So it becomes quite evident by the questions that we ask and the text that we have in the requests that we have suspicions that a platform might not have done a proper job, exactly. And we have already seen, I think, certain improvements between the first round of risk assessment and the second round. And I mean, partially it might be because of our open investigations, partially it can be because the platforms are also learning how to do it, and hopefully the same will happen also with the audit reports of the second year, and partially because of our request for information. But generally speaking, we do engage quite a lot with the platforms in the risk management framework context as well.
Okay. One of the things that I think we're looking forward to is the annual report on the cross-cutting prominent risks from the assessment. And my colleagues and I did some work on what the cross-cutting issues might be and things that we would like to see, particularly independent researchers now looking into, because that's where Article 40 access could be really very useful, to have outsiders then looking at what are these cross-cutting issues. Is there anything that you can hint as what might be coming up in that report? What are prominent?
So I think the work there is very much ongoing, together with the board of Digital Services Coordinator, because of course this is mainly a board report in collaboration with the Commission. We have also an external contractor who is helping us with this report, and discussions are very much ongoing at this point. I mean, I don't think that there will be any big surprises in this first year report. But at this stage, because exactly there are also, I mean, discussions with the board, I don't think that we can go into more details in this. But what I can say is that, I mean, the first 19 reports are public. I think that civil society organizations have already been doing quite a lot of work on the basis of these reports. We have seen also the report that was recently published. I think there won't be anything not expected in this report.
Okay, I'm looking at my colleagues to see how much more time do we have. Are we okay? Do we need? We should wrap it up. Okay, I'll just wrap it up with. So we've been hearing about stress tests and tabletop exercises, particularly in relation to elections, which is something that in CERRE we've focused on quite a lot, and it came up this morning. What does that look like? For those of us who come from the background of regulating for media and we haven't done that before.
So we started doing it at our level before the European elections, and now the DSCs, and it worked quite well at European level. And now the digital services coordinators in the member states where elections are taking place often also do it. And there it is organized by them, but the Commission assists also in these exercises. In general, these exercises are bringing together the competent authorities at national level, which can be like the DSC, it can be the electoral authorities, the very large online platforms which are present in those member states, and civil society organizations. And they discuss what are the trends which might exist in a specific member state before elections, what are the issues that the platforms might need to keep in mind or to adjust their systems accordingly. Sometimes when we talk about tabletop exercises, we also have certain scenarios with specific possibilities that can emerge or take place around elections, before the elections or during the day of the election or afterwards. And we have there people from the platforms, but also the authorities, to say how they would react in these scenarios. And this has proven quite efficient and quite useful, because then platforms are more prepared to take measures in case something happens at national level. But generally speaking, there is also quite a lot of transparency in that regard, because usually after every tabletop exercise or engagement with platforms at national level, there is always some kind of communication so that people know what that was about. It is never about content, so we don't talk about what kind of content should stay online or should be taken down. It's more about the processes, about establishing the connections between the relevant actors. If there are, for example, it has happened in the past that electoral authorities or the DSCs do not have the right contacts for certain platforms. So then through this exercise, we make, it is ensured that everybody knows who to contact in case there are disinformation campaigns or things which should be addressed.
Okay, thank you very much. As we know, the DSA is about processes, it is about procedures, and we look forward to lots more procedures and processes and implementation and enforcement. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you all for listening to us, and good luck.
Thank you very much.